Johannesburg, the city of gold, was a place of opportunity and opulence in the early 20th century. But beneath the glittering surface lurked dark secrets. Among them was the chilling tale of Daisy de Melker, a nurse, a mother, and South Africa's first documented female serial. Daisy Louisa Hancock Smith was born on June 1st, 1886 in Seven Fountains, Cape Town Colony. One of 11 children, Daisy's early life was marked by hardship. When she was only 12, Daisy went to Bulawayo, Rhodesia, now known as Zimbabwe, to live with her father and two of her brothers. 3 years later, she became a boarder at the Good Hope Seminary School in Cape Town. She returned to Rhodesia in 1903, but soon moved to the colony of Natal and enrolled at the Berea Nursing School in Durban. She pursued a profession that would grant her both respect and access to lethal substances. On one of her holidays in Rhodesia, Daisy fell in love with a young man named Bert Fuller, a civil servant in the Native Affairs Department at Broken Hill. They planned to be married in 1907. However, Fuller contracted black water fever and unfortunately passed, with Daisy at his bedside. On the very day they had planned to marry, Fuller then left a will bequeathing £100 to his dear fiancée. In 1909, only 18 months after the passing of her beloved, Daisy married William Alfred Cole, a plumber who was 14 years her senior. The couple then went on and had 5 children, but only one, Rhodes Cecile Cole, survived infancy. On January 11, 1921, William fell ill after consuming Epsom salt that was prepared by Daisy. The first doctor who attended to Cole did not consider his condition serious. He then prescribed a bromide mixture, but Cole's condition deteriorated rapidly. He took a turn for the worse soon after the doctor left. Daisy quickly summoned the neighbors to help and called for another doctor. He too passed in agony, displaying symptoms that were consistent with strychnine poisoning. Despite suspicions surrounding his passing, it was eventually ruled as being contributed to natural sources. The widowed Daisy inherited £1,795. 3 years later, Daisy married Robert Sproat. In October 1927, Robert experienced severe convulsions, which were similar to the symptoms experienced by her previous husband. Robert recovered, but only to suffer a second attack a few weeks later after drinking beer in the company of his wife and stepson, Rhodes. He died on 6 November 1927. Again, the cause of death was listed as natural, and Daisy received over £4,000 from his estate. Patterns began to emerge, but without concrete evidence, suspicions remained unproven. On January 21st, 1931, Daisy married for the third time. Her husband was a widower Sydney Clarence de Melker. Like her two previous husbands, he was also a plumber. Late in February 1932, Daisy had travelled from Germiston on the East Rand to Terfontein to obtain arsenic from a chemist. She used her former name, Sprout, and claimed that she required the poison to destroy a sick cat. Less than a week later, on March 2nd, 1932, Rhodes, aged 20, fell ill at work after drinking coffee from a thermos flask his mother had prepared for him. A fellow worker, James Webster, also became violently sick. Webster, who had also drank very little from the coffee, recovered within a few days, but Rhodes passed at home at midday on March the 5th. A post-mortem followed, and the cause of death was given as cerebral malaria. Rhodes was buried at New Brixton Cemetery the following day on the 1st of April. De Melker received £100 from Rhodes' life insurance policy. By this time, Daisy's former brother-in-law, William Sprout, raised his suspicions concerning his brother's death to the authorities. On the 15th of May 1932, the police obtained a court order permitting them to exhume the bodies of Robert, Paul, and Rhodes. The remains belonging to Rhodes were found to be in an unusually good state of preservation, which is a characteristic of the presence of arsenic in large quantities. A state forensic pathologist was able to isolate traces of arsenic in the viscera, backbone, and hair. Although the bodies of Paul and Robert Sprout were largely decomposed, traces of strychnine were found in the vertebrae of each man. Their bodies also had a pinkish discolorization, suggesting that the men had taken pink strychnine, which was very common at the time. Traces of arsenic were also found in the hair and fingernails of James Webster, Rhodes' surviving colleague. The trial captivated the nation. The trial only lasted for 30 days. Despite the evidence, Daisy was only convicted for her son's murder due to the lack of definite proof of her husband's death. She was sentenced to death and hanged on December 30th, 1932, becoming the second woman executed in South African history. Daisy's motives for killing her son Rhodes still remain unclear. In the case of her first two husbands, the motive, if indeed she killed them, seemed to be for financial gain. Rhodes seems to have been under the impression that he would come into an inheritance at the age of 21. One theory is that he was demanding more than his mother could give him and was becoming a burden to her. The most obvious answer is that he had become a disappointment to Daisy. She had pampered him all his life, but he rarely showed her any consideration in return. Daisy de Melker's case remains South Africa's most notorious. Her story has inspired books, television series, and continues to intrigue true crime enthusiasts. Her actions challenged societal perceptions of women and crime, leaving an indelible mark on the nation's history. Daisy de Melker's tale is a haunting reminder that evil can lurk behind the most unassuming facades. Her story forces us to question how well we know those closest to us. Thank you for watching. If you found this case interesting and compelling, please do give us a like, share, and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, please stay safe and vigilant.